for a motion for approval of the agenda. Member Hamilton, can you please state your motion? Do I have a seconder? Member Panag. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamas.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Panag.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The agenda for March 16th, Property Standards Committee has been approved. We will now move to item 3, the adoption of the minutes from the previous meetings. Could I have a motion, or are there any errors or omissions any member would wish to note? It appears there are none, so can I request a motion? Member Schmidt, please state your motion.
Let's move by myself and seeking a seconder that the minutes from the County Grant Property Standards meeting of January 19th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second? Member Emmett. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Vamas.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Panag.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to adopt minutes from the previous meeting of Property Standards Committee has been approved, and we have adopted them. I will now move on to the public hearing for 22 Bobby West Street, and I will ask staff to provide their presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustments and member of the public. I will be providing a brief synopsis regarding the property standards order issued to 22 Bobby West Street in Paris. On December 29th, a complaint was received through email to a member of council from a tenant living at 22 Bobby West Street. The email reported a list of complaints that included cracks in the foundation and firewall, drainage issue, drafty doors, deteriorating windows, garbage, and snow removal. On January 9th, an on-site inspection was conducted by myself and another officer. Multiple property standards violations were noted, resulting in a property standards order issued to the property owners. The order was sent registered mail to the registered owners on January 17th, 2023, and it was confirmed delivered on January 19th, 2023. There is an extensive history with this property and that specific unit. Although there is evidence that the tenant has been responsible for some damages, lack of upkeep, and uncooperative at times, there have been a number of complaints at this unit and other units that have resulted in violations and orders issued. To date, previous complaints have been complied with by the registered owners, and any concerns related to disputes between the tenant and the landlord have been directed to the Landlord and Tenant Board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Officer Fassi Metcalf. Are there any comments or questions from Committee of Adjustment? Yes, Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, you said that it has been put forward to the tenant and landlord. Where is it at today, or has there been a decision made at some point?
Through the chair to member Hamilton, they haven't provided any documents to us showing that anything's been filed with the LTB.
Who is that, the owners or the tenant?
So they're both going at each other. The owners have claimed that they're trying to evict this tenant, and this tenant is trying to fight back, but I haven't been provided any proof of so. So as it stands right now, I'm not too sure. I've requested from the Landlord and Tenant Board an FOI to actually see proof. I haven't heard back from them as of yet.
Okay, thank you. So everything's in flux right now, and we you as a bylaw officer, or the county, or us as a committee, do not know where it stands today.
That is correct, yes.
That brings me to the second point. Then why are we discussing it?
Through you to the chair. Because there's violations under the property standards bylaw, we have a requirement and a responsibility to ensure that that tenant, regardless of her tenancy state, is living in a property without disrepair.
Mhm.
So we are here to take action on that order. The landlord-tenant dispute should be through the board only.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah. So, yeah, basically, there are discrepancies and deficiencies in that apartment. And that's what when you went through, you had the opportunity to see, and I can see by the pictures that were taken of the status of what's happening there.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct, yeah.
Okay.
I'll only interject, I think this is a problem we encountered last time, and I believe the municipality can't tread into landlord-tenant act matters. Our job is mainly to focus on ensuring that these buildings meet a certain standard and properties themselves along with it. Does the committee have any more questions, staff, on this? Member Hamilton?
Yes, I see that the owners put in for an appeal. What are they appealing and for how long?
Through the chair to Member Hamilton, I'm not sure. I believe that they want to do the repairs after this individual's evicted. That's what I believe. But yeah, your guess is as good as mine with reading the appeal. I'm not too sure. That's what I'm assuming is what their plan is.
Because from my perspective, sitting here, I've sat through a few of these over the last few years. I've never come across one like this, and I didn't see for the appeal process what they were actually appealing. And as a committee, I believe, or as a member of the committee, if I don't know what they're asking for, how can I make a decision to put it forward?
Any further comments or questions? I have a question. I noticed somewhere in it, I saw that it appears there's a number of units that have had some work done to, and this is the remaining one. Is that true, or is this an ongoing problem with all the units?
Through you, Madam Chair, I know Amanda has actually had more involvement with that. Amanda, if you want to answer that question.
Through you to the chair, I can confirm that there's been some significant history. I've been involved with this unit and 4 other units along this building since 2017, specific to cracking. This unit specifically has that outstanding issue. However, there's been a number of other property standards issues in multiple dwellings separate to this one. So it's an ongoing problem on this property with multiple units.
So the other units, because I'm trying to recall, and maybe other members, we have dealt with this property on property standards committee, because I've been around a while.
It may have come through before.
Okay.
Typically in the past, we haven't received any appeals through the
Okay.
property. In this circumstance, specific to the cracking that is also included in the order, there has been a building permit issued to repair this cracking, but there's still existing cracking that hasn't been completed in this unit. And when building inspected in August of 2022, more cracking was addressed from the tenant that still hasn't been repaired by the property owner. So that's why these were included in the order as well, because building had not issued an order for that, only issued the building permit.
But the building permit, doesn't it have a time?
From what I understand, they have actively been working up until winter. Some of the cracking was on the exterior, and through winter they weren't able to do that. So there is some that does have to wait until the spring, but there is some inside that should have been completed at this point.
And if there were complaints in the past, and some of them never came to property standards committee, were they resolved reasonable time frame? Can you recall?
I can confirm that some of the orders have resulted in us going in and doing the work because the orders were not complied with, and others I can confirm that the orders were complied with by the property.
And by us, you mean the county had to go in and
Correct.
complete? To
Correct.
the actual the buildings, or were these complaints of just?
Specific
debris?
complaints, correct.
The building deteriorating versus garbage?
There, yes, some units have had property standards issues, screens, windows, things like that. Others have had issues with toilets leaking,
Oh, okay.
similar to this unit. There has been other issues with exterior waste. So there's a number of issues that we've addressed on this property.
Because that's what I was asking Alyssa, starting the meeting, based on what I saw. This is the same owner since
Correct.
1987.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
Unit 2 to 22, I believe.
And-
Units. Unit 2 to 22 is the way they're numbered.
you. Okay. Are there any further comments, or please,
I have a-
Member Panay?
Madam Chair, I have a question to the staff. The building permit says was issued January the 12th, 22. It can be revoked after 6 months, or it can be cancelled, suspended. Is there any action taken?
Through you, Madam Chair, to date, I understand that that building has not suspended that building permit, and they are still working. Unfortunately, George Ziotech did not stay on. He is the representative for this property. And I know a number of issues with this building permit was engineer reports. There was concern specifically to some gabion baskets along the exterior property and slope stability prior to this building permit being complied with. So it was a long process through engineers for this work.
More question, Madam. Is there anything the fire department can do since it's dangerous to live in that property?
And
I'm not sure.
through you, Madam Chair, I can confirm that the fire department has also issued orders for the fire separation walls and the cracking to have that repaired as well. I do believe that that portion has already been complied with.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Member Hamilton?
Just going forward, in a general sense, anytime in the past, with property standards, if we went ahead and said if it wasn't completed by this, the county would move in and do it. Is the county qualified or have people on staff to go in and make the appropriate changes to make this building up to code? Or would they have to bring in a contractor?
Through you, Madam Chair, all of our work is done through contractors. We do not have staff we do not have staff that are qualified to do any of the repairs. It's all done through certified and licensed contractors based on the work that's needed.
Corollary to that then, if the county did approve a contractor to go in, would they have the ability to complete the proper things needed to bring it up to code?
Through you, Madam Chair, they should. It's just if the tenant allows the contractors to enter the dwelling. From what I've heard in the past, there has been issues with the tenant allowing contractors to come in. And if you don't allow, obviously, access to the unit, there's nothing we can do. The order basically no longer is active.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand that. So going back to the original question, what can we do?
We can only follow what our mandate is and uphold order, and then all the other matters for access that are not part of our mandate. Are there any further comments or questions? Yes, Member Penn.
Madam Chair, is there any authority they can do a fine to the owner?
To my knowledge, there is a fine that any cost can go to property taxes, right?
So through you, Madam Chair, we do have the ability, if we cannot gain access or we do not have or ability to comply with the order, we can charge the owners for fail to comply with the order. So rather than doing the work, in this circumstance, we want to ensure that the tenants have a safe living space. But with any property standards order, we can choose to do the work or lay charges, and in some circumstances, both.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Member Emmett?
What I understand with this, the landlord and the contractor have tried to go in and make some of the repairs. I believe that's what I read in the report. And the tenant has refused. And so if the tenant keeps refusing, I'm with Mr. Hamlin. What can we do?
It has to go through the Landlord Tenant Act, and due to COVID backlog, my neighbor had an almost 2-year span in getting a tenant removed. It's a sad state of affairs, no jurisdiction. And the landlord has to wait for a hearing to be scheduled under that act.
So in the meantime, just to add for me, in the meantime, we can hold the bylaw officer's order to repair, or whatever you call, but until the landlord-tenant inquiry gets sorted out, we're all at a standstill, my understanding.
Well, as Officer Fassi Metcalf has pointed out, she has requested proof that they are trying to evict. So my interpretation would be that if they are actively trying to evict and there's documentation that supports, so we give an order that it has to be upheld. If they are prevented, so people show up because the landlord wants the repairs done, it would only help landlord's side when it goes to the tribunal for the hearing.
So I'll make a motion that we support the bylaw enforcement officers to uphold the,
And I would only request that you hold off, so I have to check, is the appellant present? Like, anyone attend on this?
The appellant received the registered mail.
Online or in person, obviously. Okay.
Agent online for applications
Yes.
this evening, and
Okay. So with that, I mean, we've given the opportunity for them to attend and present whatever sides they want, both parties. And I would suggest if the committee is okay with it, then proceed with your motion. And there are no public delegations on this, I know either. You want to provide your motion?
I'll move that we support our bylaw. Get it fixed up.
And do we have to give a timeline for that? Or because it's upheld?
Through you, Madam Chair. The timeline has obviously already expired at this point. If you guys would like to mention a timeline for us to have it repaired, that would help as well.
You want a timeline or you Steve? Okay. So you will give the landlord the opportunity 3 months to make these repairs.
If that makes sense, yeah.
Okay. And if he starts making attempts with the contractor tomorrow, it will be documented. If he's used access, then that can go to landlord.
That's correct.
Okay. That's the only way to go. So you set your timeline that you're comfortable on. 3 months?
Should be fixed.
Yes, I would agree. I wouldn't go any longer than, that's for sure. And is there a second? Member Schmidt? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes?
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Famous,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Peneg,
Yes.
and Member Brown, yes. Motion to uphold order within 3 months has been approved by the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will now call a motion to adjourn. And Member Emmett, is there a seconder? Member Vamus, all in favor to adjourn property standards? Raise your hand, and yes, it has been adjourned now. Thank you.